Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Tatev Talks podcast. I hope you missed us. This week's episode, we're joined by a special guest, Sosa Tidarlu, and we're going to be talking about our lives as teachers and students. Stay tuned.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're the first guest on this podcast.
I feel so honored.
You should be.
So honored.
You should be
Thank you for having
most honored in the whole world.
I do.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So just like background story, so everyone knows, I've known you since 2018. I think we were just talking about this, and I think it was 18.
Yeah.
We took a class together.
Yeah.
And then I actually don't know how we ended up like after that being friends. I have
I've thought about that. I have no idea.
I have no clue.
Because you ended up in a different department. I ended up in a different department.
And we didn't hang out the time that we had class together. We never hung out outside of the class. And I don't even think we talked in that class. I think we might have had more than one class together.
No.
Or just one. I don't know how this happened, but I had your number on my phone, and now we just regularly call each other and talk about life as being lecturers.
Every day.
Literally once a week, there's a story, there's a text, there's an email that we send to each other. So let's get started with, I introduced you as like, we're both students. So let's get started with like, how do you feel like you balance that life of being a student and a teacher?
All right. So...
Or tell us what are you a student in? What's your degree in right now?
Sure. So I am on my last piece of the journey of being a student, and I'm never gonna look back. I don't ever want to do this to myself ever again.
I agree.
It's been very exciting journey, but I think I'm done with school. So right now I'm finishing up working on my chapters for my dissertation, and I am getting my doctoral degree in educational leadership and policy.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
do you love it?
I love it.
Are you happy you chose?
But I'm tired.
As someone I'm in my third year, I'm ready to be done. So I completely understand you.
I've been ready. I'm tired.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it's been such an amazing journey.
Yeah.
It's been a lot to take in because I go to school full time, I work full time, and then on top of all of these, I have like research I'm doing on the side, and I have another job that I'm doing on the side besides teaching. So I'm just ready. I'm tired, I'm ready, and I'm excited.
How do you balance the life of like student and teacher? Because like for me, balancing student and teacher is the hardest one, especially when I have to do both on the same day, because like it's such a mind switch for me, like going from a position of like I'm learning something, like sitting in the back learning something, I'm not the center of attention talking all the time, to going like hours from that being the center of attention talking all the time is like the hardest switch for me. So how do you feel like you balance that?
How do I balance that?
She's like, this wasn't on the list of questions you sent me.
I don't think twice about it.
Okay.
So I consider myself pretty outspoken and pretty social, and I think even as a student, I'm always the one that raises their hand and has something to say, and I do the same in classroom when I'm teaching. I'm the center of attention.
Yeah.
So I'm doing all the talking. So I do talk a lot in general. That's just who I am.
Absolutely.
But
as it should be.
Thank you. But I don't think I've ever thought twice about it, but it can just get overwhelming. Like, it's just a lot. Like being a full-time doctoral student, working full-time, you come home, you have to do homework, grade papers. I mean, the only thing that I really think about that I need to find a balance on is sleep. That's the only thing that I consciously think about. How do I find a balance? I don't go to sleep.
I mean, something gotta go. Because you need to sleep.
Yeah.
I tell my students this about my class. I'm like, if you're sacrificing sleep to do my assignment, just don't do the assignment. Go to bed. I tell them this.
Wish I
go
could
to
think
bed
that way, but the perfectionist in me is like, no,
that's what has to go.
Yeah.
I don't have,
We're working on it.
I know. I'm good at many things. Okay. Like I am good at a lot of things. I'm not even trying to brag, but like being a perfectionist, that's not one of them. I will do things as you can see from the notes here that we have about what questions are going to be asked today's episode. They're not in order. They're not numbered. They're not straight lines. They're not even full sentences. You know why? Because I am not a perfectionist. Because I got this done in like a minute versus
flip the switch and just turned it off. But I've been working on it. That's one of the things every year that I like create these goals for myself. This is one of the things I want to work on. Good. This and just boundaries in general with family, friends, even students.
Yeah. Oh.
Yes. Me too. That's a whole different conversation, but
we'll get there.
But yeah, I think that's one of the things that definitely has to go. I mean, you can always be perfect as a student, as a professor. The good thing is I don't talk down on myself if I make mistakes as a professor. Like there's times that I come to class and they say something and I'm like, did I just mispronounce that word? Or whatever the case might be, right? I actually don't get carried away with that. Whatever happens in class, I leave it. But assignments and work projects and things that need to get done, if it's not perfect, I'm not gonna turn it in. It has to be perfect.
So I don't share that quality. I actually am the reverse of like in a teacher setting. If there's something is not done and complete and perfect to my liking, I won't post it for my students to see. That's kind of a lie because my presentations absolutely have spelling mistakes in it, so much so that I actually had a student come up to me. This is a sidetrack. I actually had a student come up to me last semester, and like mind you, the student, I think he had a decent grade in the class, not like he needed the extra credit, but he hadn't done any of the extra credit that I had posted. And he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, I have a proposition for you." And I was like, "What's up?"
Student came to you with a proposition.
He comes to me and goes, "I have a proposition for you." And I go, "What's up?" And he's like, "I will edit your presentation."
Okay, see, I know that's bad, girlfriend. You were an educator.
It wasn't like terrible. You know why? Because I have this laptop that I've had for like decades, and I've spilled lots of stuff on it, like a lot. So my keyboard's really, really messed up, and it always adds extra letters or like forgets spaces and stuff. So he noticed that, and I noticed it in my presentation when I'm talking, like it's missing a letter, like whatever. So he's like, "I'll fix it for you for extra credit points." Like, you know.
That's actually amazing. That's actually pretty smart.
I let him do it.
And I love that he actually
share it with you.
Yeah, I love that he thought about that.
Oh, yeah. I would never think about that. I was like, that's a genius idea.
So amazing.
Yeah. So he fixed five decks.
And guess what? While he's editing your slides, he's reading through lecture again.
No.
So he's learning.
Genius.
Memorizing while he's helping.
Too bad he wasn't like in that major. So like once he was done with the class, he was just done with the class.
It was fun.
Yeah, to that point, like usually I'm more perfectionist when it comes to my teaching stuff. When I'm a student, I have this like, everyone in my class is like, "Oh my God, it took me like 6 hours to do the assignment. I was so stressed and I was so worried." And I'm like, it took me like 30 minutes. Like I wrote it up and I submitted it because like, what am I gonna like freak out about? This is a learning experience. I wrote it, I learned it, it's gone. Like
it is.
So
want to hear my fun
story?
Story?
Absolutely.
I'm so perfectionist to a point that as an undergraduate student, all my life I've had A's. Not that I always wanted to have A's. Some of it was my mom's pressure. But it just kind of became part of who I am to always just be perfect at everything that I do. I'm not saying it's right to do it. It's not good for your mental health either. But it got so bad to a point that my last year of undergraduate, I had a class that I added. And I had an A- in the class. And I came home and I thought to myself and I said, this is not an A+, it's an A-. And no matter how much work I put in, it's just not going up. I ended up dropping the class because I had an A- and it was not an A+. I dropped the class. It's that bad. But I'm working on it. I think I've gotten better. I'm working on it. That's always one of my...
We're gonna break for shock.
It's the truth. I
like
yeah. I dropped the class. I dropped the class because it was an A+. It's insane.
It's insane.
It's insane.
That's
it's insane.
So how much does it kill you that our school doesn't give A+? Does it drive you crazy?
No, as long as I have the highest grade, whether it's A or A plus or A plus plus. But it's not just the grade. Like, I used to take it as if I have an A minus, I haven't done enough studying. I haven't done enough learning.
Oh my goodness.
It was to a point, yeah, I ended up dropping the class and I added a class that I ended up getting an A.
I was like having this conversation with someone the other day and they were like, not this conversation, because I don't think I've ever met anyone that would do that. So not this conversation, but like a similar conversation of like, what does learning look like? Kind of the context is that, right? So what, like if I had a student that got an A minus in my class, do I think they're not learning? Or if I had a student that like walked in, and I was telling them like, if I had a student that walked in like with Fs, like they are coming from a background where they have a bunch of Fs, they get a C in my class, to me, that's learning. That's like,
absolutely
you did great.
Absolutely.
You did amazing. You don't need an A plus. I will write you a letter of rec for that C, because that to me tells me that you did so good in this class, and that sometimes there are A's that don't do as well as the C's do. Like sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of the time I have a lot more respect for C's or B's than I do for students that are getting A's, because to me, a lot of that is just points. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And the interesting thing with that is that I've always been hard on myself. I've never judged my students. So
yeah,
if my student comes into class and yeah, I know, it's not good. I've always been really difficult on myself, but I've always been so understanding of my students. So if a student has a C or a D in my class or an F, these things rarely happen, by the way. But I always check in with them and I'm like, listen, I'm not judging. I'm not sending this email to tell you like, bump your grades up, do something about it. But it's more so of like, how are you doing? What is going on? Are you okay? Do you need help? Yeah. And then at the end, I'm like, even if you don't want to write back to me, I just hope everything is fine. And I'm never judging them, because I always think about, I'm sure they have so much on their plate. Yeah. That's the first thing I think about. If a student walks into class late, I never give them a hard time. I'm like, who knows? They had transportation issues. Something happened at home.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so I'm very graceful when it comes to other people. But when it comes to myself, I'm like so hard on myself.
That is so interesting.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I can't wait till this program is done and I'm done with school and
it'll be so good. It will be so good.
Because it will just give me a mental break.
So what made you want to go and do your PhD? Like, what was the motive behind it, I guess?
I mean, once I did my master's degree, at some point I was like, let's just finish it. There's one more left. Let's just go big or go home, right?
Might as well.
Everyone
in a master's degree has had this thought, and we're going to sit here and tell you that it's not worth it.
It is worth it. It is worth it. It just comes with a lot of work.
You have to know that you really want it for it to be worth it.
Yeah.
You can't go in like, oh, whatever. Like,
no. You have to have your life planned out. You have to know that the next 4 years of your life is just going to be sacrifice with sleep, with time with friends and family. You have to figure out, for some people, like they even have to figure out, am I going to work? Am I going to like stop working? All these things.
Yeah.
And it's intense. I remember when I started the program, couple of my I started with a different cohort, but there was this conversations of the friends that they knew that started their PhD programs married, and then in the midst of it,
oh no,
good amount of them ended up in a divorce because their partner was telling them, you're not spending enough time with us anymore. You're not spending time with me. You're not spending time with the family. And so some people's marriages also go down as a result of being in a doctoral program. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But so my bachelor's and master's degrees are in child and family studies, and my background is in early childhood. I started off as a preschool teacher before I started teaching at Cal State LA, and I switched to educational policy and leadership with my doctoral program because I wanted to make constructive change within the educational educational system. But I couldn't do that with at least in my mind, I couldn't do that with a PhD in child development. I needed to get my PhD or an EDD. My program is an EDD in policy, something related with leadership, something with policy. So that was the switch of fields. But as far as making decisions with my doctoral program, I was like, hey, we did the master's. Let's just go big or go home. Let's just get it over with.
Yes, I had the same exact thought. Let's just do this right now. I also like at some point thought I would defer for a year before I started, and like I think I got graduated during COVID. I think you did too, did you not? Or did you start during COVID, like 2020? When I say COVID, I mean 2020.
I
Can't
started
Yeah,
2020.
I started a year after you. That's right. And I was like, I'll take another year off and like figure it out. And then I was like, you know what? In another year, I could have been 2 years in. So I might as well just start now. Like, go big or go home. You're already this far. You might as well just keep going. So it's a dangerous thought to have, folks. And my parents are like, what are you going to do next? Law school? I'm like, no.
I'm done. I don't know about you.
Oh, I'm
done.
so done. I've never been more done in my entire life. I'm done. Once I finish this.
It's funny because when I just had gotten into the program, I even told myself, I said, you know what? After this, maybe I can go get another master's or another PhD. I had the thought, and I was actually entertaining it. I was looking up programs, and like 3rd year in, I was like, this is it. I'm get me out.
Are you serious?
I'm done.
Oh, it took me 1 year to be like, I'm done after this. Like 1 year in, I was like, I'm done.
Maybe once we're done, and I don't know, 6 years.
I know.
Past.
I know.
Oh, you know that? I might entertain that again. I don't know.
No, I don't think I ever look. I started teaching, and then it was even more evident to me that like I don't ever want to be a student again. Not because
it's just intense.
It's not and it's not the like it's not so much that like I'm not the center of attention in class, because I always am, because like you, I talk a lot. Like I'm the first one to raise my hand. I'm always like with the answers, you know. Someone asks a question, teacher doesn't even get to answer. I'm like, it's this, you know. I do that often, but like I just don't like I no longer enjoy being a student as much as I do teaching them. Like that's pure passion for me. So going back to school doesn't seem like an like after this, of course, after I'm done with this, doesn't seem like an option, because like what if my passion's here and I'm doing what I love, then like I wouldn't torture myself.
Absolutely. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I've thought about, an idea that I've been entertaining a lot in my mind, it's not a PhD program, but I've always told myself, once I'm done with my doctoral program, maybe I know I'm going to take a couple years just to like relax.
Yeah.
Right? But I know I eventually going to go back and
oh my God,
culinary school.
Okay, that's fine.
But that you're still a student.
Yeah, but that's a different line of
take
student.
Exams. Oh, you know that? You're not just cooking and baking.
Are your exams paper exams, or like
you have to? Yeah, you have to sit down, read a book, and take exams. Yeah, it's
that's you're though.
Yeah, you're a student all over again. So with this though, I don't know if you've ever reflected deeply on this thing that we're talking about, but it seems like people like us have a difficult time.
Have a problem? We have a problem.
We have a problem, but we have a difficult time seeing ourselves outside the identity of being a student.
Oh, yeah.
Especially for me, right? Like I think about, okay, once I'm done with this program, who
am I?
Who am I?
What do I matter if I'm not a student? Been there. Totally got it all the time.
So I think I'm ready. You know, I'm ready to just let it go.
I had 1 year off, and I like a lot of conversation with my student revolves around like what do they do after their degree, because their degree is a BA in psychology, and they're like lost, right? Like what do you do with a BA in psychology? Nothing. You go get your master's, and then during your master's you think, damn it, I'll go get a PhD. Like it's just that's like the logical thinking thing. So we have this conversation, and a lot of them are like, oh, I'm not ready to go to a master's. What about a year off? So I'm totally for the year off. Like I promote it like crazy. If you asked me a couple years ago, I wouldn't have, but now that I've taken a year off, I promote it, right? However, my year off was terrible. I had the worst.
I had a year off too.
Worst year off.
Oh no,
on earth. Like no, like first of all, I graduated 2020. So May of 2020, we had a little, we didn't even have a Zoom graduation at the time. My
that's sad.
Had a Zoom graduation.
That's so sad.
For the master's students. So it was me, my dad, and my mom sitting, and like my computer was open, and they were like, Tatev, Sarkissyan. Okay, next. And then my parents were like, cool, turn it off now. And I was like, okay.
Oh, no.
It was like very like
your graduation.
So terrible, my graduation, right?
That's terrible. I'm sorry.
It's totally okay. And then after I was done with my master's, I was supposed to start teaching right after. And we had, at the time I had talked to the department chair. She had like told me, and she had told my mom too. She was like, I'm so excited to like have your daughter start teaching. but there was a hiring freeze because of COVID. So I couldn't start teaching.
Oh, okay.
And there was a hiring freeze everywhere. So I couldn't do anything in my field.
Yeah.
So I was working like random like social media marketing, like jobs here and there, like random stuff. Hated all the stuff I was doing. And then literally like the fact of like not being a student, like having that identity crisis drove me crazy. I was like
crazy.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
You know, with teaching, I think sometimes you can get carried away. Because this happens for me too. I don't teach winter courses. I don't teach summer. So when winter break comes, I literally just sit home and I look around and I'm like, what's next?
Yeah.
What do I do with my life?
Yes. Who am I? What winter break? Your school starts the same time spring semester starts. My school starts first week of winter. Where it's like January 1st. So like I don't even have that. And then it's Christmas right before that. Oh no, I have like 2 weeks in winter and it's Christmas. So it's like that there's that whole like family situation. So I don't like see it that way. I've taught all summers that I've been teaching.
Oh no.
So I don't have a summer. So hey, summer classes are fun. Am I crazy? Summer classes, whoever has taken a summer class with me, I would love for you to be watching this right now and comment and say that the summer classes are fun because they're fun. Okay. And I teach human violence in the summer. So like,
you're right, Tatev.
I'm crazy.
You're right.
I have a problem. So anyways, what made you want to start teaching?
It's so interesting because all the jobs that I've had in my life, I've always been in a teacher role. So I started off as a swim instructor at 16 because I was a lifeguard and I was teaching swim lessons.
So cute.
Then I started teaching preschool. Then I did preschool for like a couple years and love the little kids. I really do. But at some point
how many kids did you have in your classroom?
I think we had like 23, 22. Okay. But I kid you not, one day I came home and I did it for a couple years. I came home and I sat down one day and I was having lunch and I was like, can I do this for the rest of my life? To watch after 20 kids every day from like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.? I can't. But I had to do that realistic reflection. And I knew I wanted to still teach, but I was like, what do I do now? And then I had a mentor. I was starting from my undergraduate program, I've always had mentors in higher ed. And I told her once and I was like, you know what, I kind of want to leave being a preschool teacher. I still want to teach, but I don't know what I want to do. And she said, well, have you thought about college? Do you want to teach college? And I was like, college? Adults? Do I want to teach adults? Do I know how to teach? But I'd never entertained that idea. And I was like, well, how do I go about doing that? And she said, well, if you want to teach at community colleges, you can start with a master's degree. If you want to teach for the CSU system, you can start with a master's degree. So I actually never knew that. I never knew you can teach college with a master's degree. So I was like, interesting. Let's give it a try. So I immediately started getting on my game plan with her, kind of like sketching out what I needed to do for the next couple years. And sure enough, the minute I was done with my master's degree, I kid you not, I finished my degree. And I started teaching 3 weeks after.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I think the transition, the time that I finished and the time that the next semester was starting was just so close to each other. Like within 3 weeks, I started teaching.
That's insane.
But I've always had a passion for teaching all my life. Even when I was a kid playing with my sister, play Barbies and stuff, I would pick up the teacher role.
Oh my God.
I just always loved teaching.
I'm same. I love teaching. My cousin would come. They were living in France, and when they would come to visit when we were kids, they would be like, can you guys speaking English so she can learn English? And I was like, no need to speak. I will teach her English. He'll take out my posters and pens and take out teacher role and do that. I've always been like that.
Yeah, same.
I used to want to teach elementary school. When I was in elementary school, I really wanted to teach elementary school. I was like, this is what it is for me. And then, I went to, 6th grade, middle school. And I was like, no, this is middle school. I want to teach middle school when I grow up.
And I've heard middle school is the funnest to teach. From my colleagues, people who have done K through 12.
None of it's fun to teach.
Oh, really?
Actually, I haven't taught in K through 12, so that's totally wrong of me to say. But my whole thing was I went to middle school and I was like, I want to teach middle school. Mm-hmm. And then I went to high school and I was like, oh no, I want to teach high school. This is what it is. High school is the greatest one of all of them, right? And then I came to undergrad and I was like, why would I teach K through 12 where people are forced to go to school when I can teach college and people have the choice to be here?
Right.
Like I did not force.
And the choice word, I would say, for some people, we have to take that into account lightly.
Oh yeah,
Because
lightly. True.
if you come from personal experience, if you come from an ethnic family and household, college is not a choice.
Oh, of
it's
course
mandatory.
You have to go. At least a bachelor's degree. You have to get something.
Mandatory that you
You better bring a paper that we can hang on the wall. But it's not
right
mandated by law.
Exactly.
I
I
get
get
your
your
point, right? So less behavioral issues in the classroom, which I cannot do. I'm pretty patient, but like I don't think I could do it. So I commend you for being a preschool teacher because no.
was a lot of work. But I will tell you though, being in that space and now being in higher ed,
Tell me you use the same tactics on the students because
very close. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Going into college and wanting to teach college, I guess a lot of us come in with this idea of it's adults. People have common sense. It's easier to teach them because they have common sense.
who thinks that? Girls, let me tell you,
Don't.
they don't.
Not every adult has common sense. And what I'm learning with kids, when they make mistakes, when they get on your nerves, I always reminded myself, they're just kids. They're just exploring. They're learning. Their life is just beginning. They have to make mistakes. So my patience level was really high with them because I would always remind myself, they've been around. They've been on this earth 2 years, 3 years. Like, come on, right? But with college students, I'm noticing that some things, sometimes I get emails and I'm just like, well, this is just common sense. Like, why am I getting this email? But I still respond to it, right? But I question common sense a lot.
So, okay, so great common sense question. If you were waitlisted on a class, what do you do when you're waitlisted on a class? What's your like go-to? I really hope this is the same thing that we have in mind.
Can I just be transparent with you?
Yeah.
I've never been waitlisted.
Oh my-
I don't even know how to answer those questions. But if I were to think about it now for the first time, I guess I would check to see which number of the person I am on the list.
Let's
If
say
I'm
you're
in the first
number
top
3.
5,
Okay.
I'm gonna just email the professor and say, "Hey, I'm waitlisted. I'm number 4 on the list. I'll be coming to class. Hopefully, I can get at it."
Okay, so you would go to class.
Oh,
Okay. So I got
Would
an
you
email.
not?
So I got an
You have
email.
to go.
So I got an email. And it was like, "Hey, I'm waitlisted." And this is a student who's had me before. It was like, "Hey, I'm waitlisted number 2." I think they were number 2 on my list. And they were like, I don't know what to do because I also have another class that I'm waitlisted for. And I was like, okay, like I'm not sure if anyone's dropping, so I'm not sure if I'm adding anyone, but like I hope it works out for you to get the classes that you're waitlisted for. And they responded with like, "Oh, so what do you think I should do? Should I show up for your class?" And I was like, you should show up for any class that you're waitlisted in, seeing as the professor will not add you if you're not there because
doesn't matter who you are and how many times you've taken the class. At the end of the day, it's still, we operate like a business. It's business per usual. You still gotta show up. Even if you've taken classes with me 6 days.
Tell me that you want the spot. There's a bunch of other people that also want that class and that spot. So like, yes, if you're not there, I assume you no longer want the spot. If you do not show up, I'm not giving you an ad slip, right?
I wonder if the student had gotten comfortable thinking, "Oh, I've
sure
had her class before. I'll just show up as I
me. She'll add me, you know, like it's not a big deal, like that type of thing."
Probably.
I will not. Let me tell you that because listen, Linda, no, it's not happening.
Yeah,
so that's the common sense thing. Is like and when you're out
show
there,
up. No, definitely you show up.
you have to show up. Like, what are you doing? Oh my
That's the
goodness.
least you can do because you're also, through your actions, you're telling the professor, "Look, I'm committed. I showed up even though I know I probably don't have a spot in the class.
Yes,
But I showed up."
I want this. Like, please give this to me. I want this so bad that I don't actually have a spot in the class, but I'm still here.
Exactly. No, you show up.
It kills me, the common sense. Okay, since we're talking about this, tell me one of your more like a ridiculous student teacher interactions or stories or like something funny that's happened in your classroom. I know there's a lot and we will not get to all of them today, but like tell me one that you can think of.
Oh my
This is my
gosh.
favorite. This is my
I
favorite.
know. Ridiculous and funny stories. So one of them, it really shocked. Okay, let me tell you the story. So besides teaching, I also do research, and sometimes some of my students end up becoming my research assistants on the projects, right? So I met this student. She actually was never a student of mine, but she was a student in the field that I teach. She was onboarded to the program, the research project that we were doing, and then eventually I found out that she's a student in my department, and of course I teach in that department. So the semester had passed, right? The next semester I have these classes that I'm supposed to teach, and she shows up in one of the classes, and I was excited to see her. I was like, oh great, she's gonna take a class with me. But unfortunately, I noticed that because she had known me outside of a classroom, that she thought it was just like,
Oh no.
I show up whenever I want, I leave whenever I want, I turn in assignments whenever I want. Yeah, it like got to a point that like she just like stopped showing up, and it put me in a very uncomfortable situation because I was still working with her on the project while I'm her professor too. And I had to send her an email and say, listen, we have to separate these things. Like when we're working on the project, yes, I'm in a different role, you're in a different role. But on Mondays and Wednesdays, you're my student and you're going to have to show up.
Yeah.
And it was very uncomfortable. But again, I was like, this is common sense. You're a student. You should know.
This is common sense. Did you told her?
I did. I had it in writing and I said, you need to show up. And of course, then she had her own reasons, and she did show up. After that conversation, she was more on top of her attendance.
Do you feel like that? Sorry to cut you off. Do you feel like that damaged your research relationship with this?
No, because I wasn't disrespectful with her, and I also didn't ask her to do anything extra. You're a student; it is your responsibility to show up. I didn't ask you to do anything out of the extraordinary, right? No, and I think if anything, she probably was like, oh, she doesn't play around.
Yeah.
You know, I think she was like, okay, I need to start showing up to class.
Absolutely.
So that was one of the common sense parts that I just was like, yeah, we don't do this.
So sad.
Ridiculous story. I kid you not. One time, so my name is Sose. One time I get an email from a student and I open the email. It doesn't even have like the right subject. I don't even know what the student wants. I opened the email. It said, hey, Sos, I'm not going to come to class. Let me know what I missed.
Who? I'm sorry. Who?
Sos.
Who?
And it wasn't hello. It was hey, Sos. So I opened the email and I looked at it. And I'm not a person that gets carried away with titles.
No, but like
I don't walk around class and tell my students, you need to call me a doctor. None of that.
No,
I opened the email and I'm like, excuse me, hey, Sos? My friends call me Sos.
Yeah,
my mom calls me Sos. You cannot call me Sos.
Cannot call me that.
But it was like just kind of like very nonchalant. Like, hey, Sos, I'm not coming to class. Let me know what I missed. Right?
No, I will not. Do not email me saying, let me know what I missed, because I will not tell you. Our lights keep going on and off, but I think it like adds to the flair. I won't tell you what you missed. This is why you have classmates.
The light is shocked. The light's like,
the light is shocked because the light is like, what are you doing? Yeah, I won't tell you what you missed. This is why you have classmates. Ask your classmates what you missed. I am not your...
But at the same time, my syllabus is 18 pages
Your
long.
syllabus is 18 pages long. Mine is not.
So it's like, you know what you missed because the syllabus
there.
tells you it's there.
On there.
But I had to go to the class the next session and I had to make an announcement like for the entire class. And I said, listen, I know some of you are as old as I am. And so sometimes maybe you feel like, oh, we can be best friends after I'm done with this class or whatever the case might be. Some of my students are even older than me. But I had to have that conversation with them. And I said, listen, at the end of the day, I am your professor. You're my student. And make sure you're not crossing that boundary and just have respect, right? And I think
Did you respond to the email? Oh, okay.
No, because I made an announcement for the class. I was so shocked.
Yeah.
I was so shocked.
Yeah. I would have been too. Like, don't do that. I've had to address one email situation like that. Because it wasn't that bad. I just had this student who would like not address me, not put a subject line, and like put slang like in the email, like stuff and like stuff that I don't know what she's saying. Like I'm unsure as to what they're talking about, and like all these things in an email, and then like blurting out like not trauma dumping, but like blurting out information that's not necessarily A, email appropriate, or B, necessary that I know. And I had to go to class and be like, listen, like, you guys cannot email me like this. Like, I do not need to know these things. I need you to be a little more appropriate, and not just me, but like everyone. Like, I don't know if it's like the age or the young thing or the like jokey cooey thing that they think it's okay to like do these things. But like, let's just talk about it. Don't do it. Please don't do it.
Right.
And the student caught on because like in the middle of my thing, she was like, yeah, she's talking about me. And I was like, that is so funny.
I mean,
she
it
called
has
herself
to
out.
be
So.
addressed.
Yeah, it has
You
to
know,
be.
one way or the other, it has to be addressed, because at the end of the day, they look at you as a mentor, and if there's anything they need to learn or they will benefit from is also communication skills. And I think a lot of students, what I'm also noticing with my students, they just don't know the proper email etiquette. Like the way to go about writing an email, like the subject, the greeting, the message, and then you just have a good day.
Absolutely.
You know,
I had an entire episode on this because like I thought that because like it's so that
maybe I should assign it as homework assignment for my students.
you watch. Okay, so
Watch and listen to your podcast.
this is crazy because
I think that'd be great.
You know what? You should do that.
That'd be great.
My producer was like, that I should make my students do that too. And I was like, I'm so uncomfortable with telling my students to watch my podcast.
Like,
But like that email episode is like a good one to watch.
Oh, that's a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but it's so interesting because I've thought about that. Like sometimes I like open these emails and I'm like, what?
Literally.
No, but then at the same time, like I also think about no one has probably taken the time to teach them.
So to counterpoint that, because I agree with you, and I'm always like benefit of the doubt. Like no one sat there and been like, this is how you write an email, right? Benefit of the doubt. But that's not true, because all the kids in 2000, Psych 2000 at least, learn how to write an email. They have to do that. And then there's like a couple of classes that they take outside of the major. I know because my producer's had taken one of those classes where she would go in and she was like, I can't believe they're teaching how to write an email. And I'm like, best believe some of these students need it.
Yeah.
They need it. So I know that there are these classes, like core classes in every major that teach that, like resume building, email writing.
Yeah, like that introduction to college course that everybody I think has to take.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know it's there. It
is
just
there.
like goes and then comes out, you know, so it doesn't always like stay put where it should be. I think that's the biggest problem.
So maybe I should assign your podcast
Maybe
as
you
an
should.
Okay.
And then give them a little test to see if they did it. To like have them like answer one of the questions. I'll send you a list. Please, so good. Okay, so I have two ridiculous stories, but I'll let you pick one because they're both kind of funny and long. One is like a funnier one, and one is the story where my student yelled at another student in the really loud.
Oh, those are intense.
So good.
Because
that was.
do I want to
think you want the
hear
funny
the
one.
funny? Okay, let's go.
Let's do the funny one. So I have this class. Let me set the scene for you, okay? Sometimes I walk into class and I'm like, oh, energy is low. Like, it's not vibing. Standing in front of and lecturing is like not the jam today. So this was one of those days. I walked in, energy is low, and I'm like, cool. Instead of the quiz, we'll do this like 5-point activity.
Mm-hmm.
And the activity was that they, in their groups, were going to go out to campus and do like a
Scavenger hunt?
no, they were going to do like a skit. Okay, so they had to do like a
that's
TikTok
fun.
type of thing, but like it doesn't have to be on TikTok, and not a trend. It doesn't have to be a trend, but something related to the course content.
Mm-hmm.
But make it snappy like a TikTok. So no longer than a minute, and it could be like a skit or anything that they make up. They can interact with people on campus or like the, buildings and structures and stuff like that.
That sounds fun.
It was so fun. So they have like 20 minutes or 30 minutes to do that, right? So they go, and I'm in class just like typing on my computer and like waiting, and not my computer, the podium computer, waiting for people to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So that music playing, and it's me typing, and then I have this one student group come in, and they're like, "Oh, we're done," and I was like, "Cool." So there was 2 groups that were done. Everyone else was like still working and like coming in slowly, and the student is like talking to their group, and then all of a sudden gets up, comes to me with their phone in their hand like this, and then puts the phone on the podium. I'm typing, puts the phone on the podium, and looks at me in the eyes and goes, "I'm gonna dance now for your amusement."
That kind of sounds fun. But I'm scared to know what's happening next.
Clicks play on his phone.
Okay.
And it's the song, "I'm a bitch, I'm a boss, I'm a blah, 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 blah." Okay.
Okay.
The student starts voguing in my classroom
Oh, wow.
on the, like, just on the floor. He's, like up and down.
Wow.
There's jumping and clapping and this whole situation going on. And my students are like walking in at the time. So this student is just straight up for like 5 minutes. The entirety of the song is just like all over the place, like dancing. And I am like, don't know what to do, because I'm like, A, this is so inappropriate, but also like, who is this hurting? Because like, like we're not lecturing. So what do I do?
Right.
So I just don't do anything. And then I'm like, okay, just type. And then students are coming in. So I'm like, now we need to get back to lecture. And the student looks at me and they're like, "You need to dance with me." And I was like, "Excuse me? I'm sorry. No."
You're like, this is where I draw the line.
This is where I draw the line.
Your dance. I'm
Literally. And then they go, "Okay, so we're going to lip sync battle then." And I go, "Oh, who's going to lip sync battle?" You're
like,
crazy.
Lecture is about to start, so have a seat. We're about to start.
Which is exactly what I said. I said, "No, I'm not. You're gonna sit and we're gonna start lecture," in a much nicer way, because that sounded attitudey. Anyway, so they sit down, and then the following day, the following session in class, I find out that like they hadn't done any work for their group project, and their group is about to present.
That's not good.
Right. And there was one other incident that happened right before that, but like inappropriate stuff. So they haven't done any work for their group project. One of the student comes in and tells me like, "I did this, whatever," right? So during the group presentation, this student that had previously danced in my classroom, like takes over the presentation and is
He hasn't done any work?
No, and he's presenting another student's work. Okay. But he doesn't know what's on,
Right, because
he hasn't done the work. So he's presenting the student's slides, and the student and I know this because that student had come to me and like talked to me about this, right? And I'm like, and this student's like trying to present on material that he doesn't know what's going on, and he makes this really inappropriate joke in the class, like, "Yeah, this is as sad as my dating life is," and I was like, "Oh. No, you did not make this joke during a really presentation where it's like, I don't know how many points for your grade." So I'm like, okay, I need to address this because it's like inappropriate, and it's kind of like there was moments of like taking the class as a joke. Like I would be talking and he would just come up to me and like show me stuff on his phone.
Yeah. Or it's just like there's time and space for everything.
Yeah.
Like sometimes students say after lecture, like, "I'm done. So I'm done lecturing. The class is available." They want to show me videos. They want to talk about something.
Cool.
Yeah.
During
Lecture.
During
Yeah. That.
No. While I'm talking to the whole class, you come up to me, show me something privately. Everyone's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I swear to God, nothing." So I called the student. I was like, "What should I do? What should I do?" And everyone was like, "Talk to him in your office hours, whatever." So I called the student into my office hours and I'm like, "Hey, like, I just want to let you know, please don't do this. Like, it's kind of inappropriate. Like, teacher-student boundary. Like, I get it. Like, it's all good. But just like, don't do this." And the student proceeds to go like, "You're right. I'm sorry. Like,
Aw.
let me tell you about what happened this weekend." And I'm looking at them and
You're
I'm
like, "But you didn't learn your lesson?
did we just not talk about how this was inappropriate?
He said, I wonder if he has friends or people he can like talk to."
I hope that he does, but it is not me,
Right.
right?
No, it is not you, but it just makes
I want him to have someone to talk to, but it's like, how do you develop that friendship with anyone else? Even if you're doing the similar things with a friend, right? Like if your friend is having a
Even
conversation.
with friends, you gotta have sometimes like you have to have boundaries.
Exactly.
Like you're not a therapist.
Oh,
You
100%.
can listen to them once or twice, but it's like you can't just come and like trauma dump every
don't.
day, and
Please don't.
the other person's just like, okay, like I didn't sign up
Yeah,
for this in the friendship.
exactly.
Yeah, even with friends, you gotta have some boundaries.
You have to have some boundaries, and like you can't develop strong friendships if you're constantly taking advantage of the space,
That's
right?
good.
Like, and I like my classroom to be a space where like anyone can really say or
Just be
like do whatever, be
themselves, yeah.
themselves, right? LOL, the lights. I love this. It's so funny.
That's the approval.
Yes, thank you. I like that. First it was shock, then it was approval. But like taking advantage in the way of like making other students be like, what's going on?
Right.
Or like, hey, our professor's talking to us and you're taking that time away from us to like show her something private is like wrong. And it's not safe. It doesn't make the other students feel
safe.
good or safe or whatever. So like it's just taking those things into account, right? Which like, how do I not only contribute to this space and make it good, but like how do I respect everyone else's
Exactly.
place in this space?
Exactly.
So anyways, that was my it was good. I mean, listen, the kid ended up
Any updates on the student?
failed my class.
Oh no.
Well, he didn't do. I mean, listen, it just gets so bad. And like this podcast actually came up in that class, and it was like, I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know you guys knew, and they were like, no, we know, and they started sending it on the Discord channel. So I really hope.
Let me just tell you one thing really quickly, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but some students can really pull out their FBI skills and just they're very interested in our personal lives.
Of course they are. Weren't you? I was interested in all my professors, and
not to the severity of the things that some of them do, but it's
valid.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, kind of cute, but then you're like, no, it's also kind of creepy.
It's a little creepy.
Yeah,
but like I'm sure. Like, it's really easy to look my name up and, like, my Instagram comes up. Like, that's so simple. I mean, it's done like that on purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure a bunch of them go and, like, don't follow me because they're in my class, which is okay. So
is your page public?
My Dr. Sarkissyan page is public, yeah. And for the purpose of, like, at some point I was, like, posting, like, research tips. And,
right.
Oh, I stopped doing resources. But, like, resources for them and stuff like that. I always repost, like, all of Cal State LA stuff, like, because, food pantry stuff, whatever. Like, whatever it is, like, trying to get that word out there. But anyways, it's there for them to, like, follow. And I know a lot of them don't do it, but I'm 100% sure they all look it up. It's all good. You can follow me. It's in my bio. It says students, you can follow me.
And not follow me.
You cannot follow her.
My page is private and I don't.
No student.
Once you graduate, you can add me on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is a thing. Yes. We all use it. In the professional world, we still do.
Yeah, sure.
You can add me on LinkedIn, but don't try to add me on Instagram and Facebook. And this has happened for me before where students will add me during the semester. And I'm like, first of all, you're my student right now. What makes you think I'm going to add you?
Literally.
So I reject it. And then they wait till they're done with my class. Then they try to add me again. And I'm like, listen, I'm with you guys all day, every day. The last
leave me
place,
alone.
yeah, kind of, yeah. But I need my privacy. But I mean, who knows? Maybe down the line, I'll create a public page for them with resources and whatnot, or I'll just send them your way. But but my personal private pages are for me. Like
And that isn't even
boundaries.
Once again, like that doesn't even need to be justified.
Exactly.
Like let it be private, but like I'm sure they look it up. Like mine is easy to find. Like mine is public, so they can find it and add me, and that's all good and fine. And then the podcast is like on there, so it's totally okay that they that they know about it, right? Like that's fine. But like I don't advertise it. I don't advertise my public pages in my classes, nor do I advertise the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And but it came up in class, and I was like, oh shit!
All it takes is one student to find out.
Oh my god!
And the rest no.
It took one student, and then the rest were like, send me the link, and I was like, damn it! And then they did. They sent it in like a Discord.
But that's amazing. I hope they're learning.
Sweet.
And your podcasts are pretty informative.
It was.
I mean,
so
I
sweet.
listened to that.
I like. No, that's all.
Yeah, I listened to that.
It was very sweet. It was like a very like genuine moment where they were like, we just want to like be supported. Like send the link.
That's
and
amazing.
they sent it and they watched it. So my point was to say that class like themed it. So if they're watching this episode and they're like, we were in that class and that happened. Yes, you were. And so they all know. So it's not even a talking shit session. They were there. All of them saw it happen. But that student ended up failing my class because they did all the things. And then the last like project that I have, like for their like final assignment, there was just zero effort put in. Like the student had like copied a game they found on TikTok.
No.
And brought sheets of paper in. And I was like, is anyone able to play this game? And he was like, no. And I was like,
and then what was the point?
The point, I don't know. I wish I knew. I was like, can anyone play the game? No. Has anyone played the game? No. Did you get this game off TikTok? Yes. And I was like, why would you even admit
At
that?
least he didn't lie.
Lie to me. Lie to me.
At least he didn't lie.
Well, I wish he would have.
Credit for that.
Sure.
You were an honest person. Thank you for your honesty.
Thank you for your
wow.
honesty. Granted, I overheard someone say it to him. And I said, did I just hear someone say that you copied this game off TikTok? Yes. Did you copy this game off TikTok? Yes. And I was like,
we'll still give you credit for your honesty.
Yeah, I think there was some credit given there.
Some sort of honesty.
So there was some credit like given there for the honesty. But besides that, like I was just like shocked. And I get it. It's not like education is not for everyone. You're right. Like it's a choice, but it's not really a choice for some people. You know, some people are forced to go into it and they hate every second of it.
Exactly.
And they're just trying to get by. They don't want to do group work. They don't want to do individual work. They don't want to do any quizzes. They don't want to do any work. They just want to get by. And like my class is not a class that you can just get by in.
Same. I don't think I'm pretty easygoing with grading and just everything. Like I'm pretty chill. I want to say I'm pretty chill. From student feedback, I'm pretty chill. But you also can't just not do the work and pass. It just doesn't work.
It just doesn't work.
It doesn't work that way.
The whole point is to learn something, and if you're not doing the work, you're not learning something.
Right.
Do you leave question marks on your students?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Because I do that too. Do you leave like what is going on here?
I do.
I've done that. I've absolutely done that.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's been done to me as well.
Yeah.
And I tell them this. It's been done to me. So like I reserve the right to give that back to you. And what else do I leave on there that's like crazy?
Smiley faces. Do you put smiley faces?
I'm sure I don't just
if I'm very impressed, I'll just like highlight and I'll put a smiley face.
I don't know. If I'm very impressed, I'll highlight and put exclamation points because I'm like, it's like that.
Yeah.
I'm never like,
I should do that.
This is like, you know, like,
I'm like writing notes here. I'm like, I should do that.
I don't, because smiley faces like, and when I read something and I'm impressed, I'm more like, yes, like this. That's why I like want them to know. I like a bunch of them, like exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. I get so excited. So I leave that. And then I'll be like, oh my God, this is so good. Like,
same. I give them very detailed feedback.
You know,
they always give very detailed feedback.
Most of the time, yes. There are some things that I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. And if you want detailed feedback, like, please come see me.
I mean, same. If I can't comprehend what's going, like, I've had a couple of students that turn in a research paper. I teach a research methods class. And their project is like they have to do a literature review. So they write like a 14-page paper.
Right. Damn, girl, you read that 14 pages?
I believe it or not, line by line.
Are you
line by line? I underline, I highlight, I give people. Why do you think I don't
No,
read?
like, well, that I understand. If I assign you 14 pages, I'm reading it. Like, whatever I assigned you, I'm reading it word for word. But that's why they ain't doing no 14-page paper in my class. Because
I stopped doing it because at some point I'm like,
you're torturing yourself.
But I've had students that turn in something that is just like, I'm like, how did you even turn this in? Because throughout the semester, we worked on this chunk by chunk. Like, you have to turn in your introduction pages week 5. You have to turn in the first portion of your lit review week 7. So it's like the final project technically is like, you've already done it in class. You just put it together and edit. But sometimes like some students just turn in things and I'm like, what is going on here? And I tried to read them on my probably like 4th page. And this has happened maybe 3 times. But I was like, I can't. I was like, you're just going to get a failing grade on the assignment. I have no idea what's going on. Like, it's not even like I try really hard, but I'm like, I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I get that.
And they never, those people,
they never come to you.
They never come and complain. And I'm like, so you already knew what was happening.
You already knew.
And the whole time I'm like laying down at night, I'm like, oh my gosh. I wonder if I like killed their self-esteem. No, they just never reach.
They're just shooting their shot. They're like, oh, so this is one of the questions that we have on here, but like, if you could change one of the things in the system, what would you change? And this would be mine because I went through undergrad And the reason I would not leave like Cal State LA, like I love teaching at Cal State LA because I know exactly what they went through. I know exactly what they went through because I went through it. And when I was an undergrad, I went through this like process where I realized, not just undergrad, but when I was TAing too, where I realized that there's a lot of faculty that don't read the things that students turn in.
I've heard that from students that they just get a grade. It like there's no feedback, there's no rubric. It's just a grade.
Besides the rubric, like there are some assignments that I don't post a rubric for. Let's say, it's rare, but let's say that happens. They don't read it, and I know that they don't read it because they've told me they don't read it. They meet the like minimum requirements. So the requirements would be like, do you have a title page? That's one point.
That's sad because the student has spent so much time.
Exactly. And this is why they stop spending time working on it, and they turn you in stuff to you that you cannot read, is because they assume that you're going to get to look at their title page.
Exactly.
Do they have a name on their paper?
Is it 5 pages?
5 pages? Do they have references?
Exactly.
Okay, cool, done.
Yeah.
And then they give you an A.
We don't do that.
We don't do that.
So make sure you turn in a good project paper, because I have no life. I sit there and read it line by line.
Line by line.
And I'm sure you
line by line. Absolutely. I had a one semester I gave my students a discussion point assignment in class. They're writing stuff on the piece of paper, and then they submit it, and I gave them a 5-minute break. It was like a 3-hour class. And then in that 5-minute break, I'm like reading what they wrote. And one of my students looks at me, he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm reading the assignment that I just gave you." And he's like, "You actually read that?" I'm like, "I read everything you submit. I read it."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh." I'm like, "Don't worry, you didn't write anything bad." He's like, "I know, I just assumed that you never read those." It was like a reflection type of thing. It's like, "I just assumed that you never read them." I'm like, "I'm not like the other people."
No.
I actually read
everything.
Hey, Luke is also here, so we're gonna call Luke over and see if he'll come to us. Luke, I said
he's so cute.
Yeah.
I think I'll be done with my attention with you.
I know, we're almost done.
No, I want to talk to you all day, every day, but once the dog gets here, I don't know if I can
give focus.
Look, come here.
Luke, Ariste. Luke. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to be on camera today, which is rare because he doesn't want to sit with us. Come here. He usually loves being.
Oh my God, that's it.
That's it.
It was great being
That's
here.
over. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I'm just kidding. Hi.
How are you, Lukey boy? You good?
Oh my God.
Hello. Thank you. Okay.
I want to say something.
No. Can you give us a kiss? What you? No. All right.
Oh my God.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay.